Um, I'm going to. I think I want to play some music. Let me see. Um, hmm. Wait, do I want to? Do I want to play music? Yeah, I just gotta. Well, I have to play it a little mm, subtly, so I don't get copyrighted. Um, yeah, music. Ooh, LMI. Jazz. Hmm. I don't know what I want to play. I can play. I can do some LMI. But yeah, this. Uh, I was supposed to do this live stream 2 days ago, but things happened. So, um, oh well.
Today's industries are evolving fast.
Let me turn this down a bit.
Powering over 90% of the Fortune 500 and millions of small businesses, just like hers. No one does
Uh, uh, bite, pirate. What's up? Um, did you get a chance to see the? Did you guys coming into the chat room get to see what the topic's about? What's up, Carlton? Sorry, I've been absent a few days. But what's up to everyone in the chat room? Everyone, if you want, you can say hello. Dude, I don't look like The Rock. I think you were the same troll that said that 3 days ago. Literally look nothing like The Rock. I'm not in any. I have no Samoan or Hawaiian ancestry, and it's pretty obvious. They're fucking retarded. So yeah, if that's how we if that's how we're gonna start this out, I'm going. Yeah, I'm gonna fry you because I'm pretty sure you're the same person I kicked out of the stream 3 days ago. Luckily, I'm listening to LMI. She got me in chill mode. One of the few black chicks I would crack. Pelly, the football player. No, dude, Pelly must be like in his 60s. Pardon me. I think I got some popcorn still in my throat. Pause. But anyway, I'm gonna try to get into this topic today, which is will Gen Z get drafted for war? So, for you few folks in the chat room, how many of you are aware that the U.S. Army just upped their age of enlistment to the age of 42? to the age of 42. So a lot of you millennials who thought you aged out at the age of 35, newsflash, buckos, you can still enlist. So all of you online warriors, talking about, man, that was me. I fucking ran up, blah blah blah. Well, your local, your neighborly local recruiter is waiting for you. Go right on ahead, and don't worry, because some of the older folks are reenlisting. Some of us prior service folks are reenlisting. David Goggins, how many people know this? David Goggins is 51 years old. He just reenlisted in the Air Force. He's a former Navy SEAL who's also went through Ranger training, Army Ranger training, which uh, I'm not shitting on the Navy SEALs, but a lot of people think Ranger school is actually harder than Navy SEAL buds. Ranger, so I don't know if he went through Ranger school or he went through RASP, which is Ranger Assessment and Selection Process. See, the Ranger Assessment and Selection Process are for people who are becoming joined in the 75th Ranger Regiment. Whereas Ranger School is a leadership school that qualifies you as an airborne ranger, but you're not a ranger uh, because unless you're part of a ranger regiment. So I don't know if he did RASP or he went through Ranger School. Either way, that shit is tough as hell. uh, and now he reenlisted in the Air Force for Special Warfare's Tactics Center. So he's probably gonna go through the PJ school. In case if you don't know what PJ school, that is definitely harder than Navy SEALs. The PJs are the para rescue jumpers. That's what the PJ stands for, para rescue jumpers. These are the folks who are so crazy that they will jump out of a plane to save people during aerial combat. These folks are crazy. um, so this is what he got an age waiver at the age of 51 to join the Air Force and go through their selection for another special forces, which is tougher than the Navy SEALs. That is crazy. Carter said, "Yeah, I saw that." He said Congress can also increase the draft age. A lot of people forget that. Well, and that's the thing I want to get to, Carlton. The fact that they are increasing the age of enlistment all the way to the age of 42, and there's already reports that they are way under their recruitment goals. We are looking at a possible draft. Since we already know that they're already sending ground troops to the Middle East. They sent in the 101st Airborne from the Army, and they sent in the Marine Expeditionary Forces. They didn't send them to the Strait of Hormuz yet, but they have sent them to the Middle East, which means they are on standby. And again, the Department of Defense seems to be quite uh, under under their recruitment goals. And I've already, Carlin says there's a military recruitment crisis. Yeah, the thing is, so it's two problems with the recruitment crisis. One is most Gen Z don't want to join the military because there are other options today that weren't available 30 years ago. 30 years ago, you either went to college, you went to military, or you went to trade school. That was it. Now there are other options. People can, um, you know, more people have found ways to be self-employed through online online jobs, uh, social media. Uh, maybe just there are more there are more jobs available in regions where normally there wouldn't be jobs, like in the South and the far West, because of big box franchises, like the Walmarts and the Amazons and all that sort of stuff. Gosh, she's pretty. Like I said, I'm sorry, but LMA is one of the few black chicks I would go Super Mario, if you know what I mean. We know what plumbers do with pipes. But anyway, and then the accent, forget about it. Carlin says I watch a lot of fitness content and YouTube shows me join the Marines ads. I haven't seen. That's funny. I haven't even seen those. Like we probably watch similar stuff. And then I watched this guy Austin Alexander, who's a former Navy guy. He always does these fitness challenges. So I'm surprised I haven't seen any uh, Marine ads. Now I do see ads for the Army on Instagram all the time. Like, I've seen them trying to get recruit people to join the Rangers, to join psyops, um, stuff like that. But I haven't seen any Marine stuff yet lately. Now that I said that, and we're talking about it, watch it's going to appear on my YouTube, because once you start talking about stuff, it's going to it's going to appear on your feed, because the algorithm picks up everything that we do. Like, watch, I'm going to say Marine ad sometime today if I watch YouTube. But yeah, so back to what I was saying, Carlton. So yeah, there's a recruitment crisis. One, because a lot of Gen Z don't want to fight wars. They don't want to be involved in the military. The other problem is less than, I think, let me get the numbers right. I think less than 23% of the American population even qualifies for military service, most because of obesity, mental illness, and criminal records. So the so it used to be that the military was seen as the option for dumb people, but it's clearly not, because most people don't even qualify for it. They don't qualify for it on a physical level, on a mental level, or on a legal level. And we're not even talking about being a commissioned officer, which has a lot of uh, hurdles to get through, like having a 4-year degree, and other sorts of standards that you must meet as a commissioned officer. We're just talking about regular old enlistment. Regular old enlistment, the majority of the country doesn't even qualify for. The majority. So I'm pretty sure the next move the Army and other branches are going to take, now that they've upped the age of enlistment to 42 for the Army, I bet you the next thing they're going to do is start trying to look at prior service members. I've already told my wife that if I get the opportunity, I will reenlist, because I'm still above the age of reenlistment, because that was 42. Now they can give an age waiver to someone like David Goggins, because he's David Goggins. He's an important voice for the military. So yeah, and he like who why wouldn't they? He's an ultra marathoner. And a freaking he's a freaking fitness beast. Of course, he still qualifies at age 51. At age 51, He's in better shape than a lot of Gen Z people who are like 20 years old. Uh, Carlin says they're targeting people into fitness because they need the help. Well, yeah, so it makes sense that people whose news feed is filled with fitness stuff will probably be the sort of people who they will want to target with ads for military recruitment. um, Funny thing, also, I normally support MAGA, but MAGA, I'm gonna say this, and I don't care if it hurts feelings. Some of you MAGA people need to put your put your money where your mouth is. All you MAGA people who are saying you support Trump and this and that, and that yeah, we um we should defeat Iran and all that good stuff. I agree with you, but you guys can go up to that recruitment office too. Most of you are under the age of 42. Y'all can go on to that recruitment station. You don't even have to be the army. Well, I think the army's the only one taking that 42, but yeah. And the thing is, and another thing about enlisting is that the majority of people don't go into combat arms. Combat arms is like infantry, cavalry, scout, armory, special forces, that sort of thing. That is combat arms. Most people who come into the army, like 90% of them aren't in combat arms. Most of them are in a support role, like logistics and supply, medical, so, that sort of stuff. So even if you enlist, you don't have to go into combat arms. You don't have to. You don't have to go into combat arms because, like I said, 90% of the army is not involved in combat arms. It's 10%. The 10% of the army is involved in combat arms, but the army support the greater army so basically are its support because the infantry is the heart of the army. At the end of the day, everyone in the army is a soldier. David Goggins has influence and can reach the youth. Yeah, I think that's another reason why they want him. Plus, like I said, he's a fitness beast. He actually still qualifies for most of the stuff that they do. Um, so yeah, elevator has guide rail 3666 says, "Are you a coach?" I am. Someone said, "Have you ever saw $100 bill?" Hmm. No, I've never seen $100 bill in my life. No, never, never ever. Not like all them dicks you've seen in your mouth. Anyway, Carlton says all the MAGA people walking around with stolen valor had a chance to actually be have a chance to actually be a soldier. I see young white dudes walking around with Vietnam vet hats. Yo, that's crazy. Or you got this passport bro dude that always walks around with berets. I'm like, what the why the fuck? First of all, who the fuck from America walks around with a beret? But he does it in other countries so he doesn't look weird. I'm like, you like a fucking weird like who the fuck walks around looking like Captain Crunch other than Michael? Only person walk around looking like Captain Crunch and get away with it was Michael Jackson. Okay, he can walk around with a shiny blue or green jacket with epaulets on his shoulders and medals hanging off, and no one's going to question Michael Jackson or Prince for that matter. But this dude is weird. I won't even put any energy into that. There's a lot of passport bro movement has died. I mean, I still consider myself one of them. I just don't use the title anymore because I don't want to be associated. And Aaron Ferris, it's his fault for not putting quality control into his movement. So too bad. I don't feel he wants to play. Now he wants to scream foul. I don't care. Anywho, oh her, she can also get it too. Her HER, half Filipina, half black. Well, Alame is like half. I think she's like half Irish and half black. But yeah, it is a bunch of people walking around with stolen valor, like our governor Wes Moore here in Maryland. But I won't even get into that right now. At least he actually served, so I'll give him that. He actually served in the 101st. I'll give him that. He was just his stolen valor was claiming a medal that he didn't receive, and then he later received it and said, "Oh, it was just because they messed up my name, so it didn't show up in my DD 214." Yeah, okay. Anywho, Carlin says that the Galvin family 311 donate $100 to the channel so he can see what one looks like. Right. I've never seen $100, so if he wants to donate 100, go ahead and show me what that looks like. Because I don't have $100 in my life. I only deal in pesos. But yeah, all these little MAGA folks, all the Ben Shapiros and Officer Tatum's, let's see them join up. So I'm gonna say that to me. So some of these social media influencers too, all these little social media influencers talking all this tough talk and making fun of veterans, calling them cowards because they don't want to go to war, or active duty soldiers saying they don't want to go to war because people tend not to not want to die, especially for unnecessary wars or for countries they may not even support. Uh, I won't get into that because I am pro-Israel, but I understand a lot of people aren't, and that's fine. However, for all these folks talking trash, all you MAGA and Trump supporters, all you social media influencers on the right, on the political right, here's your opportunity, guys. Go ahead and sign up and do the do work. And like I said, you can join the army. You don't have to serve in combat. You don't have to serve in combat arms. Again, to because a lot of people don't know this because I talked to one person and she thought, oh, if I was in the military, I must have been in wars and fought. And I'm like, most of us don't even see combat. Here's another thing: even the people in combat arms, half of them haven't actually seen uh, combat. Because the thing is, you might be still going through training while there's a conflict. Like there might so you you could you could enlist during the Iraq War, the Afghanistan War, or whatever. But when the conflict was going on, you were still going through training. Especially like someone who joins and goes into special operations of some sort. That could take anywhere from 1 to 4 years to complete all of that. And so you might miss the whole conflict by that time. There's some disturbing messages. Someone says, "Long live Iran." Um, the Iranian people, I have love for because I know some Persian people, but I have no love for their government. Fuck their government. I hope we keep bombing them. Although I don't want to see ground troops because I don't like seeing soldiers die. I don't like seeing I don't like seeing our service members dying. But for everyone who's mad on the left about this, just know that this is a bipartisan thing. Every president since the late 70s has said that Iran is a problem and will eventually need to be dealt with. Since this has been going on since 79, guys. Every president has posted warnings, like public warnings saying that Iran is a problem that need to be dealt with, and we've dealt with them in different ways. Like the reason Saddam Hussein was running Iraq was because we supported and funded him and trained his forces back in the 80s to be a bulwark against Iran back in the 80s. People don't know that. Saddam Hussein used to be one of our allies. um, and people thinking it's all about Israel. No, they've been doing like back in 1979. They took a bunch of hostages and murdered them. To which Jimmy Carter had a tepid response. He did try to send in a he did try to do a retaliation against Iran, which failed, and he was seen as weak on the global scene, which is part of the reason, a big part of the reason why he lost his reelection to Ronald Reagan in 1980. Okay, in 1982, they blew up one of our airlines, and on top of that, they have been the largest state sponsor of terrorism across the world. So Hamas, Hezbollah, all that shit, Al Qaeda, like all they've been the biggest state sponsor of terrorism across the world for decades. And on top of that, the the problem with these authoritarian states is that they often the number of people the people they often target are their own people. This is why when we blew up Ayatollah Khomeini, it was the Iranians celebrating. But you have a bunch of liberal people here talking about how dare they. And and on that note, I want to just point out how fucking ridiculous we just had another No Kings protest this weekend. We had another No Kings protest against a democratically elected leader at the same time that these same people are mad that Trump is actually toppling actual dictators. Tell me how that works. This is why I can't. This is why I left the. This is why I left the whole political left wing of liberals and progressives, because they are their their Trump derangement has led them to completely contradict themselves. Like you're literally yelling "No Kings" at a democratically elected leader who has been toppling dictators. Tell me how that makes sense. Carson says Gen Z would be great at operating drones because they are masters of video games. I've heard that a lot. I wonder if that is. Uh, I wonder if that would be true. Well, if they want to get into drones, that's definitely Space Force. Space Force, you will be. You can do that. Well, I mean, depending, like you got Space Force, you got the Army, and you got Air Force, all doing that sort of stuff. Navy as well. Um, but I mean, if you want to deal with the really high tech shit, Space Force is definitely where they can go for the young folks. On top of that, they can go to Space Force and they will never see deployment. No one is deployed in Space Force because Space Force's uh, field of operation is literally outer space. So they will never see deployment. Maybe in 30 or 40 years when we have the technology to send Space Force, uh, what do they call them? Space Force cadets, I guess, or something. I guess I don't know what they call them, but when when they can send Space Force troops into outer space, with that's probably gonna be like 30 years or more from now. So if you want to go into the military and be worried about, and you don't never have to worry about getting deployed, Space Force is the place to go. Especially if you have a little bit of gray matter up here. You got a little bit of gray matter. You want some of those military benefits, that GI Bill, that VA home loan, um, those lucrative security clearances like the TSSCI poly. They can get you any job in the federal government where you can cough and you got six figures. If you want that, Space Force is the place to go. Jacoby says, "How's that disturbing?" Ask yourself. I don't know what you're talking about, Jacoby. So I'm just gonna leave that alone because I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So anyway, uh, and I do agree that protests do nothing, but I'm not. I think those people are I think these those people are deluded. If well, I would say they're wrong-headed, if not outright deluded. Some of them are clearly deluded, but most of them are just completely wrong-headed. Like I said, having a No Kings protest against a democratically elected leader who is toppling the very dictators who would qualify as their kings is that the irony is just palpable. But anyway, like I said, I have nothing against Iranian folks, um, but their government needs to go. I don't trust them with uh, nuclear material. So anyway, like I was saying, for all the MAGA and the right wingers out there, here's your big chance to shine. You guys talking that tough talk. Go ahead and sign up. Go ahead to that local recruiter's office. They'll be waiting for you. Go to that local recruiter's office, tell them what you want to do, take that ASVAB, and get it popping. Go ahead. Before they, like I said, that's the first step. Like I said, if things escalate in the Middle East, they could institute a draft. Here's the thing: a lot of people aren't aware of. We came very close to a draft back around 2004. The reason we didn't was because it was an election year, and that wouldn't have worked out very well for George W. Bush. Bush. Let me stop. But that wouldn't have worked out very well for Bush at the time. So what he did instead, he was doing stop loss. That's why I ended up being in for 6 years instead of well, no, well, I was in reserves, but I went. But technically, my service didn't end until year 7. So in any case, they were doing stop losses, which meant back then, like around 2003 on up to like I think 2008, 2011 or whatever, they can indefinitely keep extending your service, your contract of service. So say your term of service in the army was supposed to end in 2004, they could stop loss you and just keep redeploying you uh, as long as they want it, pretty much. So, what's up, Max? Talking about will Gen Z be drafted for World War III? Or just for war generally, not generally World War III. Meanwhile, we listening to the comfort sounds of LMA's fine ass. But anyway, Carlin says there will be civil unrest if there's a draft. It would make 2020 riots look like a joke. I don't. Yeah, there will be some riots, but they'll get over it. So here's the thing: we always give like a lot of props to the greatest generation. The greatest generation are the people born from like 1901 to uh we were born I think 1901 to 1920s. I want to say 1927, but back then people don't realize this because the greatest generation went on to fight World War II and the Korean War. Uh, Speaking of that, shout out to the guy. There's a 109-year-old black man who was honored at the Orioles Camden Yards in Baltimore, Maryland. He got to throw the opening pitch. He was a World War II vet and a Korean War vet. 109 years old. Shout out to him. Straight up soldier. But and he's a lifelong Orioles fan, so they got to let him come out and have throw the opening pitch, which is dope. Meanwhile, Governor Westmore was also at the Orioles game. He got booed. But anyway, both vets, one honored, one not so much. But anyway, I think there will be riots. But here's the thing: as much as I tease Gen Z, and I always tell my friend this, war can change people. Because like I said, the greatest generation before World War II, they were considered soft. Maybe not as soft as Gen Z today, but the greatest generation was considered soft at the time. Like they were born after World War. I mean, they were born um, around the time World War One happened, but they were too young to serve. And after World War One, which back then was called the Great War, things were seeming to like fall into place in America um, until the Depression, the Great Depression in 1929. And back then, the the youth of that age, the greatest generation, they were considered soft. World War II toughened them up very quickly. That and the Great Depression. But that same thing can happen to Gen Z. We could be talking all this, we've been talking trash about Gen Z for the past 10 years, and then they institute a draft, which means they're going to go in kicking and screaming, but they might come out tougher and more resilient as a result. We never know. That's why I say, will Gen Z get drafted for war? Uh, we make fun of the fact that they paint their nails and walk around with man purses and skinny jeans and all that stuff. But hey, mm, war could change them for the better. Kyle Waters 6024. I already did. I'm out now, but I'll go back if needed. I've done my time. I left because it was peacetime. Well, first of all, thank you for your service, Kyle. Um, I'm the same. I'm pretty sure I'm much older than you, but I'll go back. Like I said, I already warned my wife. I was like, if I get the chance, I'm gonna go back. And she was like, oh. I was like, but don't worry. I was like, wherever I go, I'm gonna have you come with me to be in our permanent duty station, so we can be, together. When I'm not in the field, if I'm in the field. But I was like, plus I told her, I said, at my age, they'll probably have me in a more supervisory role as like I'm pretty sure they'll bump me up to an NCO and have me serve. You know, I don't. They're not. They're not gonna put a 48-year-old on the front lines. And I'm not infantry anyways. That's not my MOS. They will bring me back current under my current MOS that I left with. So Kyle says no, Gen Z are too soft. I hear that, and I make the same jokes too, and they are very soft. My What I'm saying though is war can change people. Like I said, the greatest generation prior to World War II were considered soft too. We don't we don't hear about that too much now in hindsight. But if you think if you think I'm making that up, just go ahead and do a cursory Google look up for yourself, or you can ask ChatGPT if prior to World War II was the greatest generation considered a little soft. It's gonna you're gonna bring up some some information that will say, yeah, they were considered a little soft in their relative to that time. Again, their soft is not Gen Z soft. Pause. But so I get that. Yes, Gen Z is a very soft and entitled generation. The funny thing is they hate, like, both, millennials and Gen Z hate boomers because boomers are this entitled generation too. And I'm like, well, they're basically as bad as their grandparents, but just in a different way. They're both entitled, just in different ways. One thing about boomers though, they weren't soft. Gen Z is soft as cotton candy. But like I said, if they get drafted, hey. Besides that, like I said, Kyle, uh, or I don't know how long you were in the chat, but like I was saying, you know, even though they raised the age to 42 for the army, I don't know which branch you served in, but if you served in the army, you know that 90% of the army is support. our support MOS. Only 10% of the army make up combat arms. Only 10%. The other 90% are all support. You know, logistics, supply, medical, all that sort of stuff. Cars says Gen Z is built different and not necessarily a good way. I know they built like a bunch of fanukes, if you know what I mean. Kyle said I got out in 2021. That's what's up. I got out in uh I got out in 2004. Technically 2005, but I was you know I was yeah, technically I was out in 2005. That's when I officially ETS, but I was done in 2004. So, a Marines. Okay, okay. So, like I was saying, they just sent both the Army 101st Airborne and the Marine Expeditionary Forces to the Middle East. Not necessarily to the Strait of Hormuz, but they've been deployed to the Middle East on standby because they might send in ground troops. And again, I hope they don't because, as you and I can testify, no one wants to see a fellow soldiers or Marines dying on the battlefield. And like I said, all these hardliners online, all these Ben Shapiro's and Officer Tatum's, they can go serve. They're still young enough to serve. Officer Tatum's 38. Uh, Ben Shapiro's 42, so he just made the deadline. All these people talking trash, saying, yeah, we need to fight and this and that. They can sign up. Sorry, you're a Marine? No, I was Prior's Army. Kyle said I was a radio operator attached to the infantry. Okay. So you was communications. Okay. I don't know what they would call it in the Marines. That since the Army and Marines have different nomenclature for that. Oh, were you talking to him? Uh, LL God. Sorry, I thought you were talking to me. Galvin says, "Do you know who Diddy is?" So you really want me to fry you, don't you? Kyle says, yes, technically under communications, yeah. Yeah, but when you're in the Marines, every Marine is what would they say? Every Marine is they say every Marine is a sharpshooter or something like that. Galvin Family 311 says, "Can I have a drink?" Yeah, go drink on your father's dick, the way your mother does. You both share his dick at the same time, just in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, like the burger, in and out your mouth and up your ass. Oh, rifleman. Yeah, that's what it is. Is that every Marine is a rifleman. Every Marine is a rifleman. Yeah, and they say every and I guess the same thing like they say in the army. Every soldier is an infantryman. At the end of the day, every soldier is an infantryman. So pretty much the same thing. But like I said, but it's different with the Marines. Like the Marines, like most of you guys do, most of you guys do see the field. Whereas in the army, like 90%, because the army is the largest branch in the military. Like I said, 90% of people in the army aren't even in, don't even serve in combat arms. Like 90% of them don't. That's why it's so funny that for decades people would say, I ain't gonna fight enough. I ain't gonna fight that white man's war. I ain't gonna fight in someone else's war. Blah blah blah. I'm like, dude, do you really realize that most people in the military don't even serve in combat? Let's set aside that 90% of the army doesn't serve in combat. The majority of the military doesn't serve in combat. They serve in combat support. And most people don't realize that it's like you can go into the military and never see deployment, especially in Space Force. Space Force has no place for deployment because their field of operation is outer space, and no one will see deployment in outer space for another 30, 40 years at best. So you can go to Space Force, get a nice security clearance, which will get you a nice government job when you after you leave the service, and you will never see deployment. You'll be in some, you'll probably be stationed in some boring areas like Colorado or maybe Greenland. But aside from that, it's pretty sweet. Air Force, you may never see deployment. Navy may never see deployment. Coast Guard, you only, so there's a lot of wiggle room for you to be in the military and not be in mortal danger. Kyle says they do, but if you look at the 13 Marines that died in 2021, they will all support MOS and were still killed. Oh no, that's true. So I'm not no. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Like back during the Iraq War and Afghanistan War, it was a lot of folks who were support MOSs that were dying. The reason why is because they were easier target than the folks who served in combat arms. When they was hitting those convoys of roadside IEDs and people who were strapped with bombs coming up to these folks, they were mostly going after the combat support folks, no doubt. So I'm not. So yeah, what I was saying is, I wasn't saying being in a support role you may not face mortal danger. What I was saying is you don't have to serve in combat arms to join the military. But if you want zero chances of being deployed, Space Force is your place to go. There's zero chance of you being deployed in the Space Force unless and only unless in Space Force you're attached to another another military branch for what you do, and that can happen. You might be attached to Air Force or Army in some of the things that Space Force does, but they themselves do not get deployed because again their field of ops is space. So, and like I said, many people in Air Force they won't see deployment. But yeah, there are people in like the Army and Marines are typically the ones who are going to be sent to the field, even if there's support. What's up, Sarah? I haven't seen you in a while. What's going on? She said, "Hey, y'all." But yeah, I think Sarah's a ex-marine. Kyle. She said, "What's the topic tonight?" The topic is, will Gen Z get drafted to war? I was I was saying that because now that they raised the age limit in the army from 35 to 42, this seems like a slowly creeping step to possible draft to a possible reinstatement of the draft. And she said, "That's right, simplify, y'all." Hoorah! Um, so, what was I gonna say? Like I was saying, in 2004, we almost got a draft back then, so it can happen. Like I said, I think the biggest reason we didn't see a draft around 2004 was that it was an election year, and reinstituting the draft during an election year wouldn't have worked out very good for Bush. But Gen Z, y'all might see that draft, and millennials, y'all thought y'all was sweet. Y'all thought, oh well, I'm past the age of enlistment. I don't have to worry about a draft. So a lot of y'all was thinking shit was sweet. y'all 30, y'all 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. I think the oldest millennials now in 44. Uh, wait, 40, is it 44? 45 maybe? There's some of the oldest millennials are 44, 45 now. So you guys are safe. But the rest of those millennials, y'all thought shit was sweet after y'all hit 35. Nah, buddy. Y'all can go ahead and re-enlist. I mean, y'all can go ahead and enlist before they hit that draft. I tell you this: if you voluntarily enlist, you can get what you want. As long as you qualify, you can get what you want. But if you wait till you get that draft notice, I don't know. Kyle said, I don't think they will. Gen Z will hurt unit cohesion more than it will help. But yeah, but bro, look at some of the. Have you ever seen the YouTuber Jameson Travels? He's a ex-marine. There's a lot of. I mean, most of the folks currently serving are Gen Z and millennials, and a lot of them already are off the hook. Like they make TikToks and um to supplement their pay. Uh, they just do a lot. They do a lot of dumb stuff. But you gotta remember when you institute a draft, it don't care. You, when you institute a draft, you just need numbers. You don't need quality. And at this point, the American military is at its finest because enlistment is so strict that we only get like the creme de la creme of uh, of recruits. But when we're having a recruitment crisis going on, that's not going to matter. They just want to hit their numbers. I mean, think about it. I mean, it's not going to. The military's not going to suffer that much. We used to allow we used to allow criminals to enlist. Like this stopped around I think like the 70s, maybe early 80s. But for a long time, particularly in states like California and other places, there used to be an option that instead of you doing a bid in jail, you could enlist. That used to be an option back in the day. So I don't really think Gen Z is going to muck things up too badly because we've had losers in the military for a long time. It would be like the Night's Watch. Like the Night's Watch on Game of Thrones was made up of mostly people who were emptied out of the dungeons of the different lords across the seven kingdoms of Westeros. I know I'm nerding out, but you get what I'm saying. Like the military, that used to be the stereotype of the military is that they were all like people who were losers and criminals and all that sort of stuff. But over the past 40, almost 50 years since enlistment became voluntary, uh, we've been coasting on very high quality recruits. But if things get dire for recruitment for the Department of Defense, they can institute a draft, especially if the Iran conflict escalates into a ground war. If we're already facing a recruitment crisis, they up the age of 42 to the army. Um, like I said, it's going to be other steps. They're probably going to do a stop loss like they did in the early 2000s. They probably going to do another stop loss where they can definitely extend people's contracts. They're probably going to be looking for prior service folks to reenlist. The DC National Guard looks for prior service. They've been doing that for the past 3 years. They've been asking prior service people to reenlist, particularly from the Army and Marines, because they don't have to retrain them, and they're taking them up to the age of 60 years old if they still are physically fit. They will take them up to 60 years old in the DC National Guard. and I've actually considered doing it. uh, Constance, I'm still in active reserve, so they'd activate us first before the draft. Yeah, but I mean, how many people are on IRR on an initial for let me initial ready reserve for those folks who don't know? How many people are on initial ready reserve or inactive reserve that can buttress the numbers they need? Like, I still don't think the amount of people on IRR on inactive reserve would be enough to meet to meet the shortages with the recruitment crisis they're going through right now. Because, like I said earlier, before you came in, like, most of Gen Z doesn't want to join the military because they hate Israel and they hate Trump, or but then the other reason is 23, like, only about 23% of the general population even qualifies for military enlistment, because a large sector of the general population is suffers obesity, mental health problems, or they have criminal records, so they don't qualify. So only about 23% of the general population even qualifies for for enlistment. And then, like I said, out of that, a lot of those folks don't even want to join because of their political views, or they just think they have better options than joining the military. So we're going to go through so it looks like the Defense Department is having or the Department of War now. I'm sorry, the Department of War is having a big recruitment crisis. So I think there's going to be other steps before the draft. Like I said, I think they're going to institute a stop loss, so people on inactive reserve can be reactivated, and people currently serving can have their contracts extended. That'll be another move they're going to do, like they did in the 2000s. Then, like I said, they're going to probably start looking for prior service members to reenlist, and they might start doing a whole bunch of age waivers like they did for David Goggins, who reenlisted at the age of 51 into into the Air Force to join the special warfare uh, special warfare training center. It looked like going to he's he's trying to qualify as a as a PJ. Because anyone who knows special operations knows the PJs is one of the toughest. Becoming a PJ is one of the toughest selection processes, because those PJs or pararescue jumpers are that that is that is some daredevil shit. That is some straight up daredevil shit. So yeah, sooner or later they're gonna start trying to look for older prior service guys to reenlist. Sarah says I think the she's I think the technically the advantage the I'm sorry, I think the technical advantage will help, but it will be a wake up call as well. So yeah, I don't know how if it happens will affect us. Like I said, I don't mind. I would like to reenlist. I aged out years ago. Even at 42, I'm still above the age that I could come back. Like, I would have to get an age waiver to come in, and I'm not sure I would get that. But again, if they want specifically, if they start specifically targeting prior service members to come back in, that may happen. So we'll see. But Gen Z should be prepared for the possibility of getting drafted. They should be prepared for that possibility. Because, like I said, we almost had a draft back in 2004. Carter says, "Will they announce on TV like they did during the Vietnam War?" Oh yeah, if they if they institute if they reinstate the draft, it's gonna be all over the news. Trust me. Like just like how it's been all over the news that they up the age of enlistment to 42 for the army. That's been all over the news. You best to believe if they reinstate the draft, that's gonna be all over the news. CNN, MSN Now, Fox News, The Hill, Young Turks, Daily Wire, The Daily Caller, Blaze, uh, um, any of those others you can name, uh, AP, Reuters, um, all those. Look, that's going to be front lines on. It's going to be front lines on in like every newspaper if it happens. The very next day, it's going to be all over the. It's going to be all over the news, both both the print media and the digital media. They're gonna be like the draft has been reinstated. It's gonna be all over the news if and only if that happens. Sarah says it will be a wake up call as well. So yeah, I don't know how. Oh yeah, sorry, I already read that. Galvin says my grandpa was in the military. He died in. Kyle says quality over quantity. Yeah, I mean, ideally we want quality over quantity, but in an extended war, we've always gone with quantity over quality because simply you need numbers. In a war, you need numbers. You need the numbers. The people who are quality are going to be the ones who are the leaders, the ones who are the ones who are the best at what they do. They're gonna be the they're gonna be the they're gonna be the higher NCOs, the higher commission officers, the the ones who's just in there because they don't have a say. They're gonna be the lower enlisted. They're gonna be the lower enlisted. They're gonna be your E4 mafia. E4 mafia, what's up? Causes Pete Hexef knows it's tough to recruit people, so what's he doing? Just to make the guys in now tougher, increasing physical requirements. Yeah. Someone saying crash out. Uh, okay. Anyway, Carl says if you can do Carl says if you can do a pull up, the military's drafting you. I know, right? Don't 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 put yourself on Facebook, on Instagram, or TikTok showing you doing pull ups or like me doing some one arm push ups. They be like, oh yeah, how old is he? He prior service. Man, get that man a call. I bet if the army trust me. I mean, luckily this is just on the algorithm, so they can't. But I don't know if Uncle Sam knew. Yeah, 48. This man is doing 7 mile runs every morning, followed by a half an hour of shadow boxing and stretching. Then he goes to the gym during the day. I mean, later during the day, he can still do one arm. He can still do one arm push ups and pull ups, and does a little MMA and is a martial arts coach. They be like, I don't care if that man 48. Y'all better get him. Y'all better get him in his motherfucking office ASAP. So shh. Don't. I'm joking. I don't care if they know. They can know. Like I said, I'm not a pussy, so I don't mind. I wouldn't mind going back in the service. Like I said, I'm gonna tell the wifey, like, look, I'm going back in, and you're gonna be with me at my permanent duty station, wherever that may be. So, Kyle says I don't have much of a choice. They have until December to reactivate me. Until then, they can't even draft me. Yeah, but like I was saying, Kyle, they could re they could do what they did in 2003 and institute a stop loss. If they institute a stop loss, they can, like I said, they can indefinitely extend your contract because that's what they were doing. It was people who were supposed to be getting out of the service back in like 2003 and 2004, and because of they instituted that stop loss, they were extending their contract and they were deploying 2, 3, 4, 5 times to the Middle East when they were supposed to be gone. That could happen to you by next December, because like I said, if they're having this recruitment crisis, the next thing they're probably going to do before the draft is they're going to probably do another stop loss, and then they're going to start looking for prior service members to reenlist. That those are more likely to happen before they reinstate a draft. So I would say, man, keep you know stay in shape because you never know. But like I said, if they want you back, you'll probably come back under better conditions than when you left. Presumably, presumably you would go back in under better conditions than you left. Meaning, you might you might get a you probably get a bump in pay grade. Like if you if left the Marines as an E4, which is I guess pretty common, right? They might give you that E5. Like I left as an E4, so I definitely, if I'm coming back, you definitely giving me my E5. That's for sure. I don't even need the commission. I mean, although I have grad school and could qualify for like a commission, I don't even need the commission. Just give me my NCO status. I'm good. Give me my E5. I'm good. I don't need a commission. I'll take a commission, but I don't need it. Carter says the military is definitely looking at all these fitness guys on social media. Yeah, probably are. I mean, look, they already got David Goggins to come back at 51. They probably gonna be looking at Austin Alexander, who's prior Navy. Maybe like, Austin, you always doing these fitness challenges. We saw you did the Green Beret uh, assessment of selection. We seen you do the Army Rangers 12 mile ruck. We've seen you do the Marine PT. We seen you did the Chinese Army PT and blah 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 blah. All these. Why don't you come on back here, player? And you can keep doing your videos, but now you're gonna be doing your videos for us. I don't know, Austin. They might be looking at Austin Alexander, but yo, Austin, you need to come back to the Navy. Or how about this? You don't even come. You don't have to come back to the Navy, but you can pick which one you want. Hey Agatha, long time. She says hello, sir. Kyle says you're giving the Corps too much credit. I, I mean, I like the Marines, man. I'm not as much as we shit talk each other. I'm not gonna I have a lot of respect for them compared to the Navy. The Navy needs to up the Navy. Well, the Navy has recently upped their PT standards because the Navy is a fucking joke. They're the only branch of the service I know that you can go into boot camp and come out in worse shape than you started. Like, how the fuck does that happen? Um, and then remember, you had that Master Chief or whatever, who was like morbidly obese. Like, how are you a freaking? I think she was like an E9, and she was shaped like SpongeBob, 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 SpongeBob SquarePants. I don't know how to sing that song, but yeah, that's just crazy. And I brought this up to my mom. Like I was like, the Navy's a joke. She is like, well, when your uncle was in the Navy, she was like, she's like, she said it wasn't like that. I was like, Mom, you talking like 50 years ago. I was like, the Navy of the 1970s is not the Navy of of 2024. This is, I think, I think we had to come because I think it was around 2024. I was like, the Navy of 1974 is not the Navy of 2024. I said, yeah. I was like, yeah, my uncle was in shape and all that sort of stuff because they were, they were mired in the Vietnam War back then. So yeah, they they were held to a higher physical standard than they are now. Like I said, do you think they will be drafted? They will draft females? Uh, possibly, but but not likely, because the selective service only applies to males, which is completely unfair because only males have to register for the selective service in order to qualify for federal scholarships and loans, whereas women don't have to do selective service to qualify for for federal grants and scholarships and loans. So since the selective service usually only applies to males, I don't think this is gonna really affect women. It could if things get dire enough, but I don't think that. But that will only be like something really serious, like World War III. We're not headed as much as people like to scaremonger about that. We're not close to World War III. So I doubt women will get drafted because they're not because women don't have to sign up for selective service in order to qualify for federal student aid. Only men do. So I don't think it's going to apply to females. And most females don't uh, and almost and most females don't serve in a combat arms role. They started doing it where they've allowed women to do infantry, but they're they're far and few between. And now it was only because they lowered the standards for them under Pete Hegseth. He said he's raising the standards to be in combat arms, which is going to mean that a lot of so what he's doing is instead of excluding women from combat arms, he's just saying no, we're going to raise the standards for everyone. It's not we're not going to have a standard for men and a standard for women for combat arms. Instead, it's going to be one uniform standard for anyone who wants to come into combat arms, like infantry, cavalry, uh, armory, um, artillery, and special operations. So if they can't meet that higher uniform standard, they won't be serving in combat arms. So women are safe for the most part. Carter says the government will probably wipe the student loan debt clean of the draft, and to get FBA, they may do reparations. I don't think that's too idealistic. That's I don't think they're doing FBA reparations. I highly doubt that. Although you never know with Trump because the funny thing is he's the only president that sent out gave a whole bunch of money to the HBCUs, which is so funny because people always like to call him racist, but the the so-called black president we had in office, Obama, didn't give a whole bunch of money to HBCUs, but Trump did. I don't think a lot of people even realize that of all the Trump haters. I don't think they realize that Trump gave a whole bunch of money to HBCUs. Obama didn't. Biden didn't. Clinton didn't. Trump gave HBCUs some money, which they need. Now, wiping student loan debt clean, I can definitely see that. I could definitely see them saying, look, anyone, I could definitely see them saying, hey, anyone who wants to serve, they will get um, they might even get their student loans wiped out, or they might get student loan remission. Like that was part of my package was student loan remission. I think up to like I think it was back then it was up to like 50,000 or 55,000. It might have even been up to 75,000, something like that. But it was notoriously hard to access. That was the problem with the student loan remissions was that it was really hard to access. But yeah, they might do that. They might do student loan wipe out people's student loan debt as a part of their benefits package for enlisting. I could definitely see that. Reparations, yeah, that's gonna be that's I don't see that because it would be too targeted to just Black Americans. I don't yeah I don't see that happening. I mean, we could hope for it, but that's not likely. Um, Uncle Bro says, "You ever watch Coming to America?" No, I've never seen that in my life. I've never seen one of Eddie Murphy's best movies ever. I've never seen that. I guess I have a few cousins and their mom are very scared. Yeah, because mom, that's what moms do. They freak out. Again, I don't. I laugh at people who freak out about the military because these were the same people, like in Boys in the Hood, saying, black men don't got no place in the army. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, that's so stupid. Like, first of all, like I said, I'm not your cousin's moms or anything like that, but I just think it's so dumb because, like I said, 90% of people in the army don't serve in any sort of combat arms. Like I said, again, combat arms includes like infantry, cavalry, armory, artillery, special operations, and other things. But those are the majority. That makes up the bulk of it. Most of the army, 90% of the army serves in a support role. And then if you look at all the branches of the military, of the armed forces, most of them don't serve in combat. The bulk of that is done by Army and the Marines, which is big Army, big Marines, uh, and then the other, usually the for the other branches, the people the it's like uh, I mean Coast Guard. You have like some DSF that serve in combat. DSF and Coast Guard is, I think, deployable specialized forces. Um, but outside of the DSF, they don't. The Coast Guard doesn't have a special operations team, but the deployable specialized forces can work uh, with SOCOM, Special Operations Command, for different types of missions. Um, Navy has like uh, they have the SEALs uh, DevGru, which is SEAL Team Six. SEAL Team Six and Navy SEALs are two different things. Although people from the Navy SEALs try to claim that they were SEAL Team Six, and they're not. SEAL Team Six is a tier one unit, part of JSOC, joint, which stands for joint. Uh, they're basically for just for the tier one special mission units, JSOC. Okay, which is SEAL Team Six or Dev Group, Development Group. Then they have Navy SEALs, and then they have SWIC. Um, Air Force has like the PJs. They have uh, the the air con- the air traffic controllers, um, and some other guys. But it's so far and few between of people who actually serve in combat arms throughout the U.S. Armed Forces that I laugh when people get upset, that freak out about joining the military. Joining the military is like you're going to get deployed. Most of these people don't even see deployment during combat times. Like I said, there are people who actually are in infantry, actually are in special operations, and have never been downrange putting in that work, because by the time there was a conflict going on, they were still in training. Like I said, depending on the level of specialization that you go through, you may spend anywhere from 1 to 4 years in training and never see and never see work. Um, Kyle says Marine Corps Raiders. So yeah, so the Marine um, special ops is are the Raiders, which are actually named after the very first special operations unit in the military. That's why they using that name, because they're taking up a name of the very first special operations in the U.S. Armed Forces, which were the Raiders. Um, and then even outside of the Raiders, which is special ops in the Marines, you have you have the uh, you have division, you have both the what do you call them, the who am I trying to say, Kyle? The You have, recon, you have force recon, and you have division recon, right? And force recon is basically equivalent to the Army Rangers, even though force recon isn't part of uh, special ops. They're they're special ops capable, and actually the Raiders were carved out of force recon. And then you have the division recon, or rank, or regimental recon. And I think they're more akin to like our uh, I think they're equivalent to more like our 101st Division. But yeah, um, like I said, you could go into special operations, and because it like so like for the Army Special Forces is green. Like there, there's another thing. People always say special forces to refer to all the special operations, but there's only one special forces, and that's the Army Special Forces, the Green Berets. They spend anywhere from 1 to 4 years in training, depending on what their MOS is when they get in. Like if they do, um, you know, they might become, uh, they might do um, medical or whatever, or communications or whatever. And I think the longest training uh, in Army Special Forces would be if you decide to do medical. If Because it takes like 2 years alone to do that, along with all the other training you have to do, which can be up to like three. It can take up to 3 or 4 years to finish out your all your qualifications. So within that time, you may not never. The conflict may already be over. You may not. Now, sometimes what happens is they'll cut the school short just to send them out in the field. That can sometimes happen. But if you're going through all the different things you have to get through to finish your MOS under Army Special Forces, it can take you 2 to 3 years, and the conflict may be over by that time. Carl says they're recon. They're also scout snipers. Yeah. Kyle says scout snipers are elite forces within battalion to serve as guardian angels. Yeah, like I said, like within Army infantry, you have people who aren't part of special forces, but who are part of elite infantry uh, divisions within the army. Like say for instance, the 10th Mountain Division, they're still part of uh, Big Army, but they're an elite part of the infantry, the 10th Mountain Division, because trained to they are trained in like uh, Arctic warfare and fighting off mountain ranges and stuff like that. Um, you know, so yeah, I mean I mean there's a lot of overlap between Army infantry and Marine infantry. It's just that they have two separate missions, whereas the Army is an occupational force. The Army infantry is usually seen as an occupational force. The Marines are considered an invading force. So usually the Marines are the first ones to go, and they'll basically be sent to you know to clear to clear out the enemy. Then army infantry will then replace them to sit there and hold that position. So, um, but yeah, Sarah says, "Hell yeah, I'm back." Sorry. Oh, she says, "Hey, y'all, I'm back." No, no problem. Um, Sarah, if you were offered the chance to re-enlist, would you go? Or would you be like, "Nah, I'm good." Kyle says every Marine has to do that. We all have to do mountain warfare and desert warfare before deployment. I didn't know that, but yeah, that's in the Army. 10th Mountain Division is an elite part of infantry. This does I don't know too much about them, to be honest, so I can't say for certain. Um, but what they do is highly specialized. It's not what most people in infantry do. Just like you have the 101st and 82nd Airborne divisions, who are elite uh, elite paratroopers. Uh, the 10th Mountain Division are an elite um, part of infantry to do stuff dealing with certain um, tactics beyond, because there's a qualification school that anyone can go to in the army if they qualify for like basic basic mountaineering. There's a school for like basic mountaineering in the army. So I wish I had did that because then I could use that for like doing hiking with my wife who does. She got she's a certified mountaineer in the Philippines because she scaled the highest mountain in the Philippines. Mind you, she has no background in the military or anything. She she just did it. She just did her little Laura Croft thing. So, but I wish I did. I didn't know about that mountaineering school back then because I probably would have done that and a bunch of other qualifications. So, like I said, if I did go back, that would be one of the things I would do. I would get a lot of these qualifications that I didn't do when I first went in because I wasn't very hua about the army back then. I was just seeing it as a tool for being for um, going to college. So I didn't I didn't I didn't utilize all the things I could have when I first served. So if I had to go back or I got the opportunity to go back, I would uh I would put in my paperwork for some of those qualifications like the mountaineering uh qualification and some other stuff. Maybe even try for pathfinders. But uh says that's right. Your description is perfect. Thanks. Carmen says the Marines are wild. My uncle was one. Yeah, in my everyone in my family, they were like, I think everyone in my family was either Army or Navy. I don't think I had anyone who was a Marine. I think no, I think someone was Air Force too. I think I had Army, Air Force, and Navy. No one who was Marine or Coast Guard. I don't think. Kyle would say yes in a heartbeat. I said this as well. That depends. Same rank, same MOS, same ops. Then yeah. See, I'm working on the assumption, Sarah, that if I go in, they're gonna offer me a up in the pay grade. Because I don't look. I would go back as an E4, but I'm not trying to reenlist and still be in the E4 mafia in my 40s. if you know, if I come back in, I'd be like, y'all giving me that E5. I need that E5 or higher. I need that E5. And I mean, because At the least, they should definitely give me an E5 because I'm coming in with multiple degrees. Carl says they should send robots over there to fight. Well, we have drones. We already have drones out there, so trust me, they already those airstrikes in Iran. A lot of those are drone strikes. A lot of those were drone strikes. So we do have robots out there fighting. But at the end of the day, if there's like a full war, if there's an escalation to all out war, you're always going to need ground troops. Like we're not at the point right now where we can send out a T-800 to make up our ground forces, and it's probably a good thing that we don't have T-800s walking around uh, doing the ground fighting, because those T-800s might turn around and wipe us all out. Then I don't know the music from Terminator, but the T-800. Cal says Mount Apo. I'm Filipino too. Been there. Oh, okay, yeah, yep. That's exactly. Yep. She climbed Mount Apo. I actually have a. If you want to check it out, I actually have a video of her. When she got to the top of Mount Apo. You can check that out if you like. It's an older videos because she did that about four. That was about 4, maybe 5 years ago. No, it wasn't 5 years ago because they were still in the middle of the pandemic in the Philippines. So it was no, I'm sorry. So it was like 3 years ago. My bad. It was about three. It was 2 or 3 years ago actually. I'm sorry. It was somewhere between uh around 2024, maybe late 2023 that she did it. But yes, so I have a video of her at, doing Mount Apple. Actually, I have a bunch of videos of her doing a bunch of stuff in the Philippines. It just doesn't get a lot of those videos don't get a lot of attention. But I posted a recent thing of her last week, um, doing some stuff. Carter says all those rock climbing influencers are about to wipe their content off the web. They're like, oh, y'all, oh, you can climb, Playboy. Oh, you can climb. Okay, if you can climb, uh, you can fight. And if you can fight and you can climb, that means you can join the military. So why don't you step on up and let Uncle Sam have a talk with you? You're like shit. No, I mean the rock climbing is a specialty. Like I said, there's a basic mountaineering course that pretty much anyone in the military and pretty much anyone in the army can qualify for. And then, like I said, there's the elite mountaineers, um, infantry mountaineers, which is the 10th Mountain Division. Like that is their specialty. Agnes says, "Hi, Carlton. I be ready to answer the call. Uncle Sam will be calling." He's like, "Oh." Like I said, I'm willing to go. I miss the army, and like I said, going in with a wife, I get a bump in pay. Like I'm gonna get higher pay because I'm married, and a higher housing. Like I get higher pay, higher BAH, basic housing allowance, and all that sort of stuff. Sarah is right. She says, "So I get out as an E7. Time in life increases knowledge. Just E8, and I'm in." Wait, you left? I didn't know you left as an E7. I didn't know that. So you were not part of the E4 mafia when you left out. Sarah says, "My body feels it all." Like she's like, "LOL, no admin." So honestly, I watch your channel because you don't try and embellish what you did your life. Any military member knows that the ones who actually, yeah, there's no stolen valor over here. Like, because people always ask me, "Oh, what you do in the military?" And I'm not gonna be sitting there like telling these little war stories. Like, yeah, when I was in, I was like, bang, 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 bang. I was on Rambo up in the shit, son. They called me John Matrix. I, I tell people, I was a cable installer. I did cable install and maintenance. We are the Verizon of the army, basically. Although we also are like the bottom, the very bottom though of signal intelligence or SIGINT, because we have to deal with like some basic stuff dealing with encoding and decoding sensitive um, material, stuff like that. So we are so although you know um, on the domestic side, I guess we're like cable installers and do maintenance. We also deal with a little bit of signal intelligence, a little bit at the very bottom level. But that's why we had to have a secret level security clearance. Um, but yeah, and I don't claim I've been to the field. I didn't. I wasn't in the field. I did. You know, I was I was deployed, but I didn't de- I didn't deploy because I was um sent back for dietary restrictions. So I got a medical discharge because I have PKU, um, which whatever. I was already in for like at that point 6 years. So and again, I wouldn't if they hadn't stop lost us. Like I probably wouldn't have been deployed anyway. But yeah, I definitely don't embellish my service or talk about yeah I was an airborne ranger, pathfinder, sapper school. I did I don't, I don't do any of that stuff. Like I said, there are some of these qualifications that I would put in my paperwork for if I were to reenlist. Um, like that the basic mountaineering course, um, maybe the Pathfinder school, which is really tough. I don't want to do sapper school. I think that's more for the people who were combat engineers, which is another part of combat arms, combat engineers. Says did who act any military member knows that the ones who actually did anything don't brag and you don't. I was the first staff NCO of the Lioness program. Okay. You may have told me that last year too, and I forgot. She said now they got shows about it, LOL. Oh, if you guys haven't seen it, there's a really funny YouTube channel called Vet TV. The, the latest video clip I saw, it was like what was it? It was the sergeant major's daughter. Oh, that was funny as shit. That was so funny. Like, of course, the sergeant major's daughter is a whore. It was, oh, it was funny. Uh, but yeah, if you get a chance, check out Vet TV on here. It's pretty funny. Karen says, bro, they have uh compilation videos on YouTube about people committing stolen valor. It's hilarious when they're called out. Like our Governor Wes Moore, Maryland Governor Wes Moore committed stolen valor when he claimed that he received the it wasn't the Medal of Honor, it was something, and he said that he didn't lie, that he was confused because he was told that he had received that he had received it, but he didn't actually have it because they had messed up his name on his DD 214 under the medal, so he never got it, but said that he had qualified to say that he received a what medal or something like that. I'm like, but that was BS. And then he didn't actually get it until like several years later when he became governor. Then they suddenly made that correction and he actually received the medal that he claimed that he had earned, but he didn't receive back in the day because they mis they mistyped his name. That sounds like bullshit. On top of that, like I would be more willing to think to give him I'd be more willing to give him some grace on that if he didn't lie about other things. He's he's a prolific liar. He lied about being a Baltimore native. Like if you're gonna lie about something inconsequential as being a Baltimore native, then yeah, I'm gonna believe that you're committing stolen valor because he lied about being a Baltimore native. Like so, he was born in Tacoma Park, which is a city in Montgomery County, Maryland, which is a Washington D.C. suburb, a very nice place. That's where I used to live. Well, I lived in Silver Spring, but it was like right next to Tacoma Park. So depending, um, you could even say where we lived was Tacoma Park instead of Silver Spring. It didn't matter because that's how close they were. It's a really nice area. Okay, and not as nice as like going out to places like Chevy Chase, Maryland, or Bethesda, Maryland, or places like that. But it's still decent, like decently nice, right? I don't think that's the word decently nice, but whatever. Anyway, it's a nice area. Um, at least especially back then in the 80s and 90s before all the certain folks came in and messed it up. I'm not gonna say who, but let's just say ICE would probably be active there. Anywho, um, so he was born in Tacoma Park, lived there as a child before his father died or whatever, and then he and his mom moved up to the Bronx, New York, where he lived as an adult um, until he transferred to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. Mind you, he didn't do his whole 4 years at Johns Hopkins. He transferred there after 2 years. So he literally only lived in Baltimore for 2 years as a transfer student to Johns Hopkins, and then ended up doing his his I think he had a Rhodes scholarship, so he ended up going to England to do his which is another thing he lied about. He lied about the degree he received while he was at Oxford under the Rhodes scholarship. But that's like I said, he keeps lying. So how are you a Baltimore native if you only spent 2 years at a college there? So if I'm born in Baltimore, right, and then I move to Illinois, live in Illinois most of my adult life, and then transfer, and spend my first 2 years of college at like say the University of Illinois, and then transfer to UCLA and spend 2 years going to UCLA getting my degree, and then leave UCLA and get like a and do some international studying, come back to America to open up my own business, and then decide to run for governor uh, in California, and then I say I'm an LA native, would that not strike you as complete bullshit? Because I spent 2 years living in LA while studying at UCLA, that makes me a LA native. Would not like the first thing you would ask before the whole obvious thing that you're lying, you would ask me why are you even why are you even making that up? Like why are you even saying you're LA native? Like why do you need to say you're LA native? Like it, but this is how stupid Westmore is, and this is why he got booed. Well, amongst other reasons, why he got booed at the recent Baltimore Orioles game. Meanwhile, they honored a 109-year-old veteran at that same baseball game. Anyway, sorry for all of that rant. Sarah says, whatever the rank and what you did, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you. Like I said, I would want to go back and get my E5. Not as big as you, big staff sergeant E7. And but that's funny. So for us in the army, staff sergeant is E6, and then our E7 is sergeant first class, right? And then E8 for us, E8 can either be master sergeant or first sergeant. Sarah says, yeah. She's like, I know, right? All these I was special ops, lol. I gotta say, I think the people that I don't know if this is true, but it to me it seems to be the people who commit the most stolen valor tend to be in the Navy. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to be mean to the Navy, but I think a lot of a lot of those folks in the Navy are the ones most often committing stolen valor by lying, saying they were SEALs. Like you were not a SEAL. You weren't even SWIC. Even SWIC is Navy Special Operations. It's like they weren't even SWIC. So, but I see a lot of Navy folks lying about being SEALs. You don't. I don't see too many Army people lying about being Rangers or being Green Berets because I think most people know they would get called out on it. uh, Sarah says, "See, I get furious with stolen valor, but I'm a jarhead." We all get mad about it. Trust me. Just like a lot of folks was getting called out last year on their on stolen valor, and it's usually the people in the special operations community, all the veterans in the special operations community are usually the first ones that will call out people for their stolen valor because they know who was in there with them and who weren't. But you got a lot of people in the Navy that be doing some stolen valor. I'm not saying that people in the Navy do it the most. It just seems like it is. Uh, Kyle says I saw a stolen valor dude on YouTube. A dude had 4 gold stars on a bronze star ribbon and a gold star on a Navy cross. Wait, what? 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 Ohio Chase's ID as oh hey, I remember you from a few days ago. Yep, I'm back. uh Kyle says E7 is a gunnery sergeant. Oh yeah, gunnery sergeant. That's right. I keep thinking, yeah, because I was about to say, all right, so yeah, okay, that's okay. So I'm tracking now. So yeah, so E6 for you for Marines also is staff sergeant, right? And E7 is a gunnery sergeant. Okay, like I said, our E7 is sergeant first class, but I think so. But when they address you guys as a when you're E7, they say they have to address you as gunnery sergeant, right? Whereas a sergeant first class at E7 in the Army, they don't call sergeant. They don't address them as sergeant first class. They just address you as sergeant. Um, everything from E5 to E8. No, so I'm sorry. Everything from E5 to E7 is just sergeant, and then as an E8, they are either call you master sergeant or first sergeant, depending on what you are. And E9 is weird. E9 has is all addressed as sergeant major, but E9 has 3 different levels. You have sergeant major, you have command sergeant major, and you have sergeant major of the army. Like it's kind of weird that it ends E9. But in anyway, um, I'm about to end this. But like I said, Gen Z is on. You guys are on notice that there could be a draft if things get dire because we're going through a like I said, the military is going through a recruitment crisis. They've already upped the age of the army to 42. Um, I think back during uh, what was it, World War II? I think it was up. It went up to like 45 or something like that. Um, oh, Sarah says, "Oh, gunny." Yeah, I've heard like gunnery sergeant or gunny. Kyle says the star means they have multiple ones. So basically, have a gold star on a ribbon means you got commendation for it 4 times. So the dude is basically saying he had 12 bronze stars. No, I understood that was complete bullshit just from what the description. I was like, yeah, that sounds far fetched. But yeah, they get away with see they try to get over on civilians because they know other people in the veteran community will call them out on their shit. Like, and besides that, if you serve, you serve. Why do you need to like over like you know embellish what you did? And there's people in special operations who sometimes lie too. Now I won't say they commit stolen valor. Well, sometimes they do because like I said, you have some people who are like Navy SEALs who will lie and say that they were part of SEAL Team Six. Like, no, you weren't, because and what they and so they get over because they don't because they know that most civilians don't they they know that most civilians don't know that Navy SEALs and SEAL Team Six are two different units. Like um the SEALs are a tier two special mission unit, whereas SEAL Team Six is a tier one special mission unit that's completely separate from the SEALs. Like they're part of J.A.C, and they're on it like they're completely separate. They don't even refer to themselves as SEAL Team Six. They call themselves Dev Group, so that people know not to confuse them with the SEALs. They call themselves Dev Group for Development Group. Just like the Delta Force is a tier one unit separate from the Green Berets. Um, and but they often call themselves CAG. And even within the ranges, even within Ranger because Ranger Regiment is special operations as well. But a lot of people don't know there's a tier one component of the Rangers, which they so the difference is they are part of the Ranger Regiment, but they're a tier one unit. They're part of JSOC, and they're usually attached to like Delta Force or whatever. They are they're called RRD or RRC Ranger uh, Regimental Reconnaissance Company or Regimental Reconnaissance Division. They are a tier one unit within the Rangers, and they are a complete mystery even to the Ranger to people in Ranger Regiment. I said, yep, LOL, and get free stuff. Totally agree. Carlos says facts. Civilians don't know the difference. Yeah, and like I say, even people in the military don't know this stuff. I wouldn't have known this stuff if I hadn't looked these things up for myself. So even a lot of people in the military don't know these things. Agnes says, "Who cares?" Sarah says, "I had my mother-in-law new new boyfriend new come and try and tell me what he did." Uh-oh. He was like, "Yeah, so when I was over there, right, I took out my K bar. I was like slash slash slash. They had me running up in there. I was like the Punisher out there. You know what I'm saying? Just like whoop bam, whoop bam, whoop bam." I told him, "Shit, I'm gonna get the Navy Cross for this." uh, says, "Bro, I was in shock at all. He tried to tell me what he did, quote unquote, with one look he left early." Oh man, yeah, I don't. Yeah, people who do stolen valor are a special type. Like I said, Governor Westmore is just a completely dishonest individual. That's why I'm pretty confident to say that he knew he was lying about that medal and that he didn't actually receive it. He received it basically as I think he was awarded it by the army because he's a governor now. That he didn't actually. I don't think he actually earned it because it's like you try and tell me for like 10 so you try and tell me for like I think it was like 8 or 10 years they never corrected this typo so that you could receive this award that you claim should have shown up on your DD 214, but it wasn't, but because of a typo in your name you didn't receive an award for 10 years. And now as governor, then you do receive that very award. That is sketchy as hell. And like I said, he didn't he got the award 2 years after he was called out for stolen valor. 2 years afterwards, where he claimed there was a typo that in his full government name that kept him from receiving his medal. It's like if he never lied about anything else, I would have said, that's unlikely, but the the army is known for fucking things up, so yeah, that can happen. Even if it took almost 10 years to correct. I'm like, all right, maybe that happened, but all other things he lies about, I don't believe. But anyway, says all right. God bless y'all. UFC Saturday Night Fight is on. Stay safe till next time. Simplify. All right, guys. I'm out myself. It's almost 2 hours in, and it's late. I think I might eat something before I go to bed. Um. So, peace out, guys. Take care, and uh, you might you might need to give your local Gen Z a hug. Tell them it's gonna be okay. Like I said, all those little gung ho uh, right wingers who never enlisted can give them a crying shoulder because they need to go as well. They need to go enlist as well. All those little chest thumping right wingers who now are still young enough to enlist, they can go ahead and comfort those Gen Z with the possibility of draft. And like I said, if I can reenlist, I actually will. I'm not gonna be on the front lines, but that's because that's not my MOS. I am a cable dog. So, all right, guys, I'm out. Peace. Take care. All right, Carlton, Agatha, everybody. See you later.